Let's talk President Trump. I've got a few thoughts that I want to just put out there for you to maybe process and think about and give your comments. I think President Trump's, he's not an expert in everything that ever happens. And I think he's actually being played. And I do think he's going to wake up to it and understand it. I have a saying that says a proud man's an easily controlled man. And I think if there's a weakness with President Trump, it's been his pride. And I think the men around him are lying to him and feeding things into him that are not godly. And and I think that is why we are seeing some of the things we are seeing with him. Digital ID, the real ID. I think it's so conceivable that because the whole world was doing this. And President Trump is pro-American. He is a nationalist. But I think he's being used by the globalists without understanding it, because generally the American mindset is very localized. I lived in Massachusetts for many years, and to them, world news was California. And I'm not saying that to put people down, but I think that's been done on purpose and engineered on purpose. So I think President Trump had really know a lot about what was going on around the world. Maybe he did, I don't know, but my suggestion is he probably didn't. So digital ID is being put out all around the world. So I think they've come to President Trump and gone, well, we need to lead the world in this. Look, things are going down and we need to rise up and bring in digital currency to save America, so America's the tip of the spear here instead of everyone else. And I think that he would probably jump in with, really? You're right. Let's get into this and do it. We have to be first. But what they didn't tell him is it's actually the deep state, the very thing that he spoke out against is the very thing manipulating him. And so he's probably, I think, thinking he's helping America, where they're using him to hurt America. I think it's been the same with everything, with wars. And you know what else? I think the Ministry of Peace, or whatever they call it, that he set up, I think that was another offspin of that, where I think Trump probably got a little bit annoyed about some of the things that were going on. Who knows what he saw, but a bit of a glimpse of globalism in some way. And so I think they came to him with an idea. Well, President Trump, why don't you set up a Ministry of Peace? You could be the world leader for peace, because he's all about peace. And I believe his heart probably genuinely is all about peace. But these men manipulated him. And he's a businessman. That's not, anyone that's lived in America understands they're capitalists. They'll do anything for a dollar. And I think in one sense, in their dishonesty, they're the most honest society, because if you know full well everything's just about money, then it's honest. You know everything beyond that's a lie. But the bottom line is money. And President Trump was about money. He's a businessman. So they came to him, I'm sure, with the West Bank and things, and like, we can make money here, we can help people, we're going to set up, and it'll bring peace to that whole area for the first time in thousands. You think about it, you'll be the world leader of peace. And President Trump, he doesn't have time to think about and do everything, so he's like, that's a great idea. Ministry of Peace. I'll set up a Ministry of Peace. Sets up a Ministry of Peace. Next thing you know, he's in a war. And I do believe he was railroaded into that war. They've, again, played on his pride. And I think what President Trump is not seeing is there's a globalist deep state behind him and around him, and a lot of the men that are around him are part of that deep state. They're manipulating the world, manipulating the systems of the world to make sure. And once America falls, they've got the world right where they want it. Everywhere else in the world's pretty much lined up, locked and loaded, ready to go. They just have to get the US on board. And then President Trump's doing that by thinking he's helping America. He's actually bringing them under the power of the globalist government. So, yeah, you can have an opinion, Trump's this, Trump's that, and I'm really not interested in that because I don't know him personally, so I can't comment. But I do get a sense that this is what's happening, and I do think President Trump If he's not already having dreams, he's going to have dreams. I think his youngest son there, I can't think of his name. Um, it just eludes me. Somebody help me out. I think that young man is having some sort of God encounters that he's bringing to his dad too, and saying, God, Dad, and there's some sort of stirring spiritually in them. President Trump has people around him, advisors that are self-seeking and not, perhaps, I don't know all of them either, but I think there's a large percentage of that. Self-seeking. When I read the book of Daniel in the Bible, we see how, I think it was King Nebuchadnezzar, one of those, had a dream and he couldn't make out the dream, and he came to his nobles and wise men and everyone and said, tell me my dream. And they're like, we can't tell you the dream. There's not a man alive that can do that. But he knew that if he told them the dream, they'd lie to him. He'd realised these men are just suck-ups. They lie and they do whatever they want to try to manipulate the leader. They think he's stupid. He figured it out. So Daniel actually had to go and seek God, came up with what the dream was, told him what the dream was, and the interpretation. And he knew it was from God. And I think that's President Trump's path in many ways. I think he's got people around him that are lying and manipulating him, and he's going to become aware. I think he's already aware of that. He's not a stupid man, but he's not really sure what to do. But I think what we're going to see is a release in his life. I really do believe, and I speak it in all faith, that that man is going to have a meeting with God, whether it's in the night, whether Barron, that's his name, whether it's through Barron being touched by God, something in a personal way, personally to his family and to what matters to him. President Trump, God loves you. President Trump, you know full well that there's a God, and you know full well that that God has his hand on your life, but you can't figure out what to do with that. God has you. And I think you've got to do like Daniel. Step out, find that Daniel, and let that Daniel flow with you in the spirit of what God's doing, away from organized religion, away from men that are going to manipulate. Have somebody there that can speak spirit into your life. Somebody there that can align with you, fellowship with you in the spirit of who God is, and bring truth and freedom to your life and to the society that you're ruling over. Because I really actually do believe you love America and you want to see the best for America, but you're being played. And it's time that you woke up and saw you're being played, and humble yourself before God and say, okay, God, show me. How do I go from here? Because I do believe you're God's man for the job, and I do believe, I know, that God is using you. He's also going to use you for a move of the Spirit of God that's going to sweep that nation and change a lot of things for what God would have. God bless the Trump family and President Trump.